Hey, what's up, everybody? You're listening to the Enterprise Architecture Radio. If you're thinking about organizational complexity and agility, if you're concerned about operational efficiencies and are thinking of taking it to the next level, if managing innovation is one of your priorities, you've come to the right place. On this podcast, we talk about all of that and more. It's a jungle out there, and we will attempt to navigate this jungle of frameworks, methods, and most importantly, enterprise architecture in practice. Let's talk about Agile today. A few days ago, I was reading a blog post somewhere that mentioned that enterprise architecture frameworks are so clunky and so rigid that they don't align really well with Agile processes. And I thought this could not be farther from the truth. In fact, I think that the very reason why enterprise architecture frameworks and methods exist is organizational agility, to make the organizations agile so that they can do innovation, so that they can change, they can take decisions about the organization quickly. So before I go ahead and debunk this, let's go ahead and define what agile really means. Now, agile, the word, has many different meanings. The first meaning, obviously, is the English language, agile, meaning quick, fast, or being or flexible, or being able to change directions rather quickly, basically athletic. But there's also a very, very specific meaning of agile when it comes to agile software development. There's a manifesto for agile software development that was signed by a group of people: Kent Beck, Mike Beadle, Robert Martin, Ken Schwaber, and so on and so forth. And the manifesto said that we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value that individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. That is, while there is value in the items on the right, we value the items on the left more, right? So that was the Agile Manifesto, and it was very much specific to software development. And from a software services standpoint, if I may add. Now, does that mean that Agile cannot be used other places? Well, the principles of Agile are very, very generic, and they resemble very much with lean manufacturing that existed long back in Toyota, and lean software development as well, and lean processes and so on and so forth. And whether you are doing a software development as a software services company, or whether you are a product development company, and so on and so forth, it's possible to do Agile software development. Can agile methodologies be used in other areas within IT? Sure, why not? Agile core processes make a lot of sense. So you do iterative and incremental development. You focus more on production code. You focus more on productivity. You give more authority to the people who are actually working on productivity and making progress than the managers and the leaders and so on and so forth. And the core principles of agile software development are so generic that they can be used in other areas as well, whether it is maintenance of projects, or maintenance of software, or whether it is infrastructure development or technology development, or so on and so forth. So that is agile from a software development standpoint, which trickles down a little bit outside software development as well. The challenge with the leakage of the ideas outside the software development arena is that people have started applying this everywhere. Now, is that a bad thing? Of course not. It's a good thing. In fact, if you look at the enterprise architecture frameworks and methodologies, you'll come to see that even they have adopted quite a few philosophies of agile, and they are also iterative and incremental, and so on and so forth. The challenge is we must never forget that software development and enterprise architecture are two completely different endeavors. Software development can be related to constructing a building. Enterprise architecture is more like town planning. They can definitely do their own things independently from each other. Just because you are doing town planning does not mean that it has an impact on how you are doing construction architecture. Of course, it's going to have an impact on the design. So, for example, if there is a town planning standard that a building cannot be constructed right next to a main road and that there has to be a certain distance that needs to be kept between a main road and the building for purposes such as having a parking lot or a sidewalk and a footpath or what have you, the construction architecture will be impacted to a certain extent by the town planning standards. Having said that, how you do the construction is not something that town planning committee would decide, right? Where you put your drawing rooms and bedrooms and what color of the wall you should be using, etc., are decisions that are taken by the construction architect. To bring back the analogy to our agile and enterprise architecture discussion, is that enterprise architecture has a process and a method which is iterative and incremental and borrows heavily from agile. And the perspective is at a very big picture level, at the enterprise level. What are the business capabilities that we have? What are the different processes that we have? How do the capabilities and the processes interact with each other? What are the applications and systems that support these processes and capabilities? What are the technologies that support these applications? How does the data flow through the system? These are big picture concerns of an enterprise architecture organization. And we build a baseline architecture and a target architecture, and we look at large projects and how we are going to transform from our current state into the future state, and how do we become more organizationally agile, right? This is a concern of the enterprise architecture team. Now, whether you are doing software development within the organization, and let's not stick to software development alone. Let's call it capability architecture from a enterprise architecture terminology, right? When you're building capabilities at the lowest level, whether it is a software system or a technology or or setting up a new process within the HR organization, for example, okay, it could be anything. When you are setting up systems at the capability architecture level, at the lowest level, you could use Agile, you could use Lean, you could use Kanban, you could use what have you, as long as you're meeting the high level standards set by the enterprise architecture organization. There is no impact. One does not affect the other. Enterprise architecture does not say that you should be using Agile or you cannot be using Agile or what have you when it comes to software development. So one thing is that they are independent from each other. The second thing is that the very reason why enterprise architecture exists is to understand the organization better and see where we have inflexibilities, where it is difficult to change, where the organization needs to modularize a little bit or change the systems in such a way that the organization becomes more agile, more flexible, more ready to change direction at a moment's notice. Now, this is a vast topic, and my podcast episodes are around 8 to 10 minutes, so I run out of time. But you get the idea. And if you have any questions or thoughts about any conflicts that are there between an enterprise architecture and agile, please feel free to reach out to me and let's have a nice discussion. If you'd like to be a part of this podcast, write to me, and I think it'll be fun. That's all I have for you today, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. More about organizational agility, innovation, and enterprise architecture in the practical world, in the business, right here on the show. But before I end the show, I want you to help me out with this one little thing. Pause the show and share this podcast via WhatsApp or a text message with just one person who might be interested in these topics. It could be anyone, your colleague, your boss, someone in your team. That's all I want. Just one share with one message via text or WhatsApp or what have you. And it would go a long way in supporting us and growing our listener base. Also, please don't forget to follow the podcast. That way, you'll get notified when we publish a new episode. If you want to find out more about us, you can visit us at enterprisearchitectureradio.com. If you have ideas, thoughts, disagreements, please feel free to write to me directly. We also have a Telegram group if you'd like to contribute to the EA discussions or whatever. Just search for Enterprise Architecture Radio on Telegram. Or the URL to join the group is https://t.me/enterprise architecture radio. While our contact details are there in the show notes, it's very easy to find us really. Just search for Enterprise Architecture Radio anywhere. Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Clubhouse, anywhere. And you'll find a way to get in touch with us. Once again, I hope you had fun, and I'll see you in the next one.